Yeah, yeah, I noticed, again, you had talked a little bit, I just want to mention to our group, these meetings that you have internally here are videotaped and put in this insiders group on richdad.com, which I'm a member of. And I, again, just want to mention to our audience, I can't really think of a more valuable resource than to be in this insiders club and to be able to tap into these videos and watch Robert and your team talk about these type of asset classes. See Robert's mentors talking about certain asset classes such as commodities, even stocks and real estate. It's an invaluable resource. I just want to mention to everybody that that is the insiders membership on richdad.com, and it's $9.95 a month. And at the end of this call, we've got an opportunity for you to try it out that I'll give you that at the end of the call. So we'll talk about it a little bit more throughout this call. But getting back real quickly, can you talk about, first of all, the different asset classes and make sure everybody understands them, and then really the advantages of real estate over those other asset classes, or at least stocks?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we talk a lot about it, Rich Dad. I mean, the three asset classes: real estate, business, and paper. And when we talk about paper, we're talking stocks, bonds, mutual funds, the market. There's also paper and real estate, by the way, discount notes, things of that nature. So that can transpire into different elements. But it really, when you talk about Rich Dad and you talk about the Rich Dad philosophy, although some people view Robert as a real estate guy, that's not necessarily the Rich Dad philosophy. The Rich Dad philosophy is, can you profit in any market at any given time? Can you be in that right place in the right time? So when stocks are hot, are you in the right place at the right time? Can you profit from that? Versus where business or aspects of business or the real estate market. So getting back to kind of talking about why real estate. When you compare real estate to a mutual fund, we always talk about here that when you look at a mutual fund, in a mutual fund, do you have any control over what stocks that mutual fund buys? Or do you have any control of those companies and the decision patterns that they make? If they buy a jet, can you have a say in that? No, you don't. And so you have no control. When you look at insurance, can you purchase insurance against a mutual fund and for a mutual fund for loss? No, you can't. You can't structure that. And how about leverage? Can you leverage your money in regards to mutual funds? Well, sometimes, and you really can't. Now, sometimes I get feedback on that, which is, well, you can have a margin account. But even a margin account is only a 1-to-1 ratio at best. So you're still looking at a fact where you have no control, you have no insurance, and you have, and you have no leverage. So why would? And then if you look at real estate, you obviously have control. You can control what the use of that property is. You can control who you put in there. You can control the financing and the debt. You can control all of those elements. You can control the leverage side, up to 0 down, 10%, 20%, whatever that is, and whatever that deal works for you. And then at the same time, you can buy insurance, and you have insurance for that. So all of those elements together make real estate such a powerful piece. But going back to the asset classes, we talked about the real Rich Dad philosophy was actually found in the book Who Took My Money, and that was build a business that makes you cash, hold your money in real estate, and then multiply it in paper assets. And that's really our pattern, and that's really our message to the masses.
Okay. I think what you've mentioned to me before in some of my reading, that this new book too that we have out at the Rich Dad Company here called The Real Estate Advantages, this is written by Sharon Lechter, your mom,
yes,
and Garrett Sutton. So we got an accountant and an attorney writing this book essentially. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. And it's and why this book is unique for us is that in the marketplace, it's not often that you'll find a book written by an accountant and an attorney. And what they really talk about, and I'll give you even an example, because this is an example that Robert's been using lately, is the ability to leverage, control, insure, and pay less or no tax, right? I'll give you an example. In 2004, Robert bought 10 condos at $10,000 a piece here in the Scottsdale area. And he ended up going and flipping those condos, and he was able to get that $100,000 to $1 million. And the deal was, though, he waited 1 year and 1 day. Why? So he could do a 1031 exchange. And when you're looking at this book, Real Estate Advantages, that's what it's talking about. One of the pieces you can do is a 1031 exchange, but you have to know the rules. Actually, they were in a position they could have sold it 3 months earlier, but they made it conditional on the sale to make sure they were able to get that additional $900,000 tax-free. They then took that and rolled it into a 350-unit apartment complex. And so this is in 2005. And that 350-unit apartment complex, they then refurbed, and through the appreciation of the market, they were able to refinance that a year later, and were able to take $2 million out. And because it's a loan, it's tax-free. Obviously, if they make that gain, if they sold that property, they'd have to pay taxes on that unless they did another 1031 exchange. But they took that now $2 million and they put it into an 800-unit apartment complex. So they went from $100,000 in 2004 to 1,150 units, making over $50,000 a month in cash flow from just from $100,000 in 2 years.
It's amazing.
Paying no tax,
yeah.
really utilizing the structures and the team and the advantages that are described in this new book, Real Estate Advantages.
Yeah, so what you're saying with these 1031 exchanges is you get to use the money that would have been paid to taxes into your investment deals, therefore leveraging essentially more money to be able to put toward your investment portfolio.
Absolutely right.
And again, the taxes are not they're not free, they're deferred, but you keep doing 1031 exchanges throughout your life, those can continue to be deferred and you continue to use that appreciation over your life for the investment.
Absolutely right. And that's the way of multiplying your money in a very, truly an investor's point of view. Now, would I have been able to do that with my first fourplex based on the team that I had around me? Absolutely not. And this is where the team became such a critical piece because, on those deals, Robert had, he had Kenny McElroy as his property manager who found the deals for him. He had Scott McPherson who did the mortgages for them. He had, their inspectors, their appraisers. He had 1031 specialists and Gary Gorman who, and again, all that I'm saying here is that it comes back to having the right team. If you have the right team that understand how to do this, you can be in a position where you have to do very little, but your money multiplies a lot.
Absolutely. 2 points to make on that too. One is I've noticed on those videos in the Insiders Club, you also have great team members that come on there. I remember seeing a 1031 specialist from out here in Arizona that spoke, and then I ended up contacting that 1031 specialist, and I'm using them on a 1031 property in Florida. So that's, again, great value. And also, just as a note for investor teams, for you folks out there, obviously with our companies, that's what this company is all about, is to help people find team members like this so that we can get you essentially to the shortcut of finding these people.
That's right. And that's why again I'm so honored to be on this, because I truly believe that what you're doing is helping people get past the mistakes that I made. Because here I was at a Rich Dad seminar thinking that I had the perfect realtor, the perfect team members, and I completely missed the boat.
Yeah.
And had I had a little bit of education, a little bit of information outside of a lot of motivation, I would have been in a very, very different position.